Well, what do we got? We got a cart full of wild olives. I think we call it wild olive because it grows wild out here. They don't really produce a lot of fruit and hardly ever see it as a fruit-bearing bonsai. But the Niwaki of the same species will produce some. So it's not good for olive production. But anyway, these are in need of work, so I'll go ahead and get started. I'll put individual ones on the table and I'll prune so you know what needs to get done. So we are in the month of September, just getting started. Before I get started, I'll go ahead and let you see what it is before we get started. Basically, these been pruned a number of times throughout the season. It just keeps growing back. Olives have this habit of just growing at the base. So you just have to keep cutting it off. But all this growth, it helps to fatten that area. Look how fat this base is. You could thank all these random growth for that. See, the more I prune them, bigger this base becomes. I think this one is quite old. Looks like I topped it so that it was actually a big tree at one point. And now it has a big base. Okay. Okay, now we just have to trim. Okay, this being September, we're starting to have less vigorous growth, so we don't want to over prune at this time of the year. It's probably a good idea to have nice foliage during the holidays. So if you've been following me, then you notice that we do different techniques based on the time of the year. So, see, just prune these that are trying to ruin the shape. Very impressive trunk. Yes, there is slightly abrupt change because it was cut from a big tall tree, but it should not take that much longer to have a nice transition. Well, because most of the time the trees tend to be top growers, so this area will pick up girth fairly soon, and then you will have a great taper. Yeah, if you look in here, there's a big scar, but it's getting nicely hidden now. So I'm not sure whether this is the front. If this is the front, perhaps this should go. That's the rule, but you know me and the rules, I kind of like it there, so I'll keep it for a while, unless this is the front and it's not in violation. Well, I took off this little dead piece. Well, actually it broke off. So I have that. I think it's starting to look pretty good. Okay, here's another one of the olives. If you could learn to visualize with these gone, much easier for you to make purchases, especially around here. Okay, so I'll go ahead, tend to these that's suckering at the bottom here. You notice that I tend to always be behind in work here. Well, one of the things I do is to fertilize these materials a lot more than a lot of the bonsai people do. You know, okay, so now I just have to prune fairly lightly because this is getting towards the fall and the rapid growing season is almost over. They'll grow some, but you know the olives love the heat, so when it's really hot it grows like crazy and then it will slow down. So I gotta make sure you accommodate for that and leave enough greenery so people could actually enjoy it rather than being stark naked. Okay, this, like a lot of my other materials, has never had any wire on it, and olives are easy to direct if you understand their growth pattern. Those of you that love to wire, go ahead and wire. It doesn't snap like some of the other materials. Okay, so basically I'm done with this one. So basically I'm done with this one. It has a ways to go, but it has a nice kind of a nice line. Okay, we'll take a look at this one. Actually, this one's in pretty good shape. We don't have a whole lot of sucker growth. So what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and take a look. This is your before shot. Yeah, this one's in pretty good shape, so really not much to it except cut off these things that grew very vigorously. So once you get trees to this point, the maintaining is much easier. You know, to style it, it requires an eye, takes time, and yeah, that's the hard part, the time and the artistry. Some people just can't visualize the future. So if you're in that category, you should buy something that is well styled. And then, you know, like bonsai is never done, so it's not like, well, I don't want to work on somebody else's. No, in 2 years, everything that you purchase, no matter how well it was done, it becomes yours. Those of you with absolutely no skills, it could become yours, totally ruined. Just kidding. Well, that's what it looks like when you have it trimmed. This one was a simple one. It didn't get really bushy at the bottom. Okay, this has been the cart full of wild olives. You can see that there's a distinct difference in style, huh? Let's take a look at what it looked like before we got started. and now this. So anyway, this is Hero saying goodbye. I hope you enjoyed this little short chapter on olive bonsai in September. We're in the first week of September, and we just had 100 degrees yesterday. It's going to be close to 100 today, and then it's going to start to cool down. Olives love the heat, so they've been thriving, but they'll start to slow down. So I was a little bit more cautious about not over pruning this go around. Okay, see you again real soon in another chapter.